Our guest tonight is America's #1 gossip columnist. He's also the former publicist for Jessica Simpson and J-Lo and so many more. He hosts the Naughty But Nice podcast, and his new book is a self-help book called The 4-Word Answer. Please welcome Rob Shuter to the show.
Thanks for having me, you two. How are you?
First, let's talk about your book, because I have a million gossip questions to get into. Because as I said to the audience, you are America's #1 gossip columnist, so we definitely have a lot of gossip to get to. But let's talk about your book first. It's really provocative because the question is, you have these 4 basically secrets. So can I ask you about them? Do I have to
absolutely.
buy them? Yeah. Okay. If I buy the book to find out. Okay.
Yeah. No, please. We're friends here. We're all going to be fine. Give me a vodka soda and we're all good. I worked for celebrities for a really long time, and I noticed that they had something in common. And forgive me, Ashley Simpson, it was not necessarily talent. That's cruel. But they had something in common, and it wasn't necessarily talent. And so I was lucky enough to have this sort of front row seat at pop culture history being made. And what I realized is what they had is they all knew who they were. And specifically, they all knew who they were in 4 words or less. So I could say to Diddy, who were you? I knew who Diddy was. He's powerful. He's black. He's a king. I knew his 4 words. There were different words for Jennifer Lopez. They were different words for Jessica Simpson. There were different words for Alicia Keys. So every opportunity that came across my desk, whether it be the cover of Vogue or In Style or to go on the Today Show, it had to match 3 of the 4 words to get a yes. So I started thinking about, what about if I did that to my life? What about if we did that to our lives? I got paid, I think, $8,000 to $10,000 a month to do this for celebrities. So for the price of a book, what are your 4 words? And I actually asked my mommy, who's in her 80s, and she didn't know it. And it made me really sad that you can get to your 80s and not know who you are. So start thinking about who you are in 4 words. Are you kind? Are you loyal? Are you funny? Are you silly? And I think you'll discover who you really are.
I got a couple of words for Anthony. I can come up with 2 off the bat.
Asshole is 2 words, I think. I don't think that's 1 word.
But yeah, I think what you're saying is really important because, even in radio, we've discussed this. We've had Anthony and I over the years have had so many consultants and people sit down with us and be like, who are you? How do they know who you are? And you have to figure that out. And I never even thought to myself that was like a celebrity idea or a concept or a branding thing. I just figured, it's for us, we're speaking to a very specific audience. So who are we?
Right.
So
it's fascinating. Big brands do this. Companies like, I've not just worked for celebrities. I worked for Estee Lauder. Joe Malone Fragrance knows who they are. I was the publicist for Esquire magazine. Esquire is different from GQ. It's different from Maxim. So I'd go on these company retreats and they'd spend hours and hours. And often I'd roll my eyes thinking it was so silly, but it really wasn't. Knowing who you are is so important. And being able to say who you are is even more important. And there's a difference between trying to be somebody. Don't do that. Who are you? Who really are you? Not who do you want to be? I don't want to be Andy Cohen. I'm not. Who am I? And so I think that's the distinction here, is figuring out who you really are and then becoming comfortable with that. And I promise you, if you figure that out, the rest gets easier.
What are your 4 words? Who are you?
Good question. I'm funny, I'm cheeky, I'm naughty, and I'm nice. I'm a nice guy. But I find sometimes my nicest friends are a bit boring. Sorry. And my naughtiest friends are too mean for me. So I'm somewhere in the middle. So naughty but nice really does summarize who I am. I'm really comfortable in the middle. I'm not that provocative. I'm not a Howard Stern. I'm not... but I'm also too, I'm not a morning anchor of the Today Show. I'm not that kind. Like there's an edge to me, and I'm really comfortable being a little bit edgy. I like being funny. I put funny at the top of my list. When people ask me about my celebrity crush, it's Jimmy Kimmel. And it's because he's just so funny. I've always liked funny people. And in Britain, we actually sort of think funny is amazing. Lots of people, there was a recent survey, and more people wanted to be funny than beautiful in Britain. Like they really did. They asked the public, if you could pick beautiful or funny, what would you pick? And they picked funny.
Well, because most of the people in Britain are funny looking.
Now that's why you make the big bucks. If I could have made that connection.
Their teeth are very funny. There's a lot of funny things.
How dare you? I've got my new American teeth in, so I feel just fine.
Well, my joke about the British, and I shouldn't say this because I'm such an Anglophile and I watch only British programming. We have lots of British people on the show. Our good friend Ollie Coleman is always on the show. Yeah, as you know. So, but I always say, you guys, you call trucks lorries and dentists never.
I have an Ollie Coleman story, which I think ties into the book. So about 10, 15 years ago, Ollie was my intern. I was the editor of OK Magazine. One of the words in this book, and you wouldn't think of this word about celebrities, but one of the big words is kind. Now, there's many, many different definitions of kind. You can be kind to others. You can be kind to yourself. I would argue there's nobody kinder to herself than Jennifer Lopez. She does treat herself with great kindness. And so about 10, 15 years ago, when I was working at OK Magazine, I was kind to this intern. I didn't need to be. Nothing in it for me. I was kind to him. I sometimes wandered out of my office. I actually had an office rather than a cubicle. And I was kind. It was Ollie Coleman. And then 15 years later, when my book got announced, I wanted it to be in Page Six. Everybody reads Page Six. I'm a gossip columnist myself, but I know the audience that the Post, particularly Page Six, reaches. So Ollie was going to write about the book. I was terrified because it could go either way.
Right.
Like, Page Six is a naughty, naughty page.
Yes.
And so they could go vile. Ollie wrote a love letter, and I spoke to him afterwards, and he said, you know what? It's taken me 15 years to pay it back, but thank you for being kind to me. I didn't even remember him as an intern. Wow. It was terrible. But you do affect people's lives. So I'm not telling you in this book to be kind because I'm a good person. I'm telling you to be kind because it's a smart business decision.
Right.
And I learned it from J-Lo. Jennifer's kind to people, not necessarily because she's kind in a way we might think of her as a Princess Diana, Mother Teresa type, but she's kind because it's a smart business decision. So this is sort of what the book's about. 4 categories that I think every celebrity who's successful falls into. And I give you all 4. So it's not that hard. I take you through them. I give you all 4. I explain why. I'm happy to debate it. But ultimately, I'm going to help you find your 4 words.
I love that.
Now,
it's a good idea.
Can they still be celebrity without being kind?
Well, you can't be kind to yourself. If you're a celebrity, you've got to be kind to yourself. I've never met a single celebrity who is at the peak, the top of their game, who's not kind to themselves. And I mean that in a way.
Demi Lovato.
Example, but
is the only one I could think of.
Yeah, but I think even now she is figuring all of this out, and you've got to go through your journey. And so I think we don't just stop in time. We're all growing. We're all changing. And even celebrities that have been self-destructed, they would argue they did that to cope. It was a kind thing to do, to get away from this crazy life. So sometimes we take kind decisions. We grow up all the time, don't we? Being told to be kind. I say stop saying that and tell everyone to grow up to be kind to themselves. Be kind to yourself. When I look in the mirror now, I don't see my big nose. I used to, but now I see like a guy that I think's handsome. I've taught myself to be kind to myself.
You look better now than you've ever looked before. You really look. Every time I see you on Instagram, I'm like, man, like, this guy is aging backwards. I mean, you really look fantastic.
It took me a long time to get there.
Yeah.
And I get it. All these people, I get it. People have been hawking self-help books for years. If another housewife tries to sell me a book on, I don't care. And so I really didn't write this book for you, for anybody. I wrote it for me. I had all this time during the pandemic. I was going crazy. People have asked me for years to do a tell-all book on J-Lo or Diddy. None of it really interested me.
Right.
I mean, I'll tell you the stories for free. Just drink and into my book, do that. I made my whole living gossiping about Jessica Simpson. And then I came up with this idea. I was watching a movie and I was in a bad way. I was sad. I was drinking too much. I was spending too much money. And I was sort of hungover and I heard these 4 words in a movie and I like froze in the mirror and I was like, those are the words. Those are the 4 words. And at my office.
Were they John Tucker Must Die?
I'm the king of the world.
Therefore, good words. King's one of Diddy's words. But I knew these words. They felt like an old friend.
Right.
And I went back through my old boxes of my old clients. I'm not a publicist anymore, but I kept some mementos and I actually kept all their cards. And on my computer, I had Post-it cards and each celebrity had their own color and I had each word. So each celebrity had 4 words. I threw them all in a box, which was helpful. Now I'm glad I kept them for the book.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through it and I was like, these are the 4 categories.
It's brilliant.
It's a better idea than it is a book. The idea is great.
It's so simple. But
the idea is great.
No, it's great.
The book's a bit boring, but the idea is terrific. Oh, I had to stretch it then into 70,000 words. I mean, you've got the whole book. I could have done it in 2 pages.
Could have been an article.
It's a great idea. Oh, it's a stretch of a book.
Well, I can't. I'm excited to read it. All right.
you.
Well, so we talked about the book. Now we have to talk about celebrity stuff.
Go.
So Anthony will tell you that I have been beating this drum for how long, Anthony?
Probably up till 2 years now.
Up till 2 years. I've been saying for almost 2 years now, maybe more, that Kim Kardashian and Van Jones are going to be a couple.
Oh, it's so good gossip on this one. So it bubbled up a couple of days ago because Cindy Adams, who I adore, but, in her late 90s, maybe not the best person for the Kardashian dish. I don't think it's her circle. Right. If it's a Marilyn Monroe scoop, Cindy's your girl. So I love you, Cindy, if you're listening. Cindy sort of wrote this very vague paragraph about Kim and Van, and now Cindy is merged into the page 6 part of the website. So page 6 gets an enormous amount of hits. So it didn't say Cindy till you clicked on it. And I'm not saying you shouldn't read Cindy. She's fantastic. But it looked like page 6 was saying that Kim was with Van. And then you clicked on it and it links you to Cindy's column, which was more of a vague sort of observation or a wish. This is how it bubbled up, but I hit the phones immediately. My sources are telling me Van doesn't want her. Like Kim kind of likes Van. She's liked him. He's dazzling. He's good looking. He's smart. Van doesn't want to get into the world of reality TV. That family sort of sucks you up.
I say no. I say that is. Let me tell you something. He left his wife. She was a perfectly good wife. He left his wife once Kim Kardashian decided she wanted to be a lawyer and started spending all that time with him. And they would be schlepping around all over the country, and back down to DC and sitting around with Donald Trump, trying to, pass all their prisoner reform and stuff like that. They spent a lot of time together, and suddenly he leaves his wife, and then she's done with Kanye.
I mean, I hear what you're saying. I haven't. I'd love to be able to chase it down, but I haven't. And the people that I know who know him are like, he's quite vain. He's very aware of who he is. He's sort of built this image of himself, which is awfully impressive. He pretends he doesn't like celebrity, which he really does.
Right.
And so he's a celebrity now. But that reality world, there still is a lot of stigma. I love reality TV, but within our world of show business, a lot of people still look down their nose in the same way Countess Luann tried to get a date with Andrew Cuomo, the governor, when he was at his peak, 6 months ago, when we all loved him.
Right.
And he was not that into her because of the reality stuff. I don't think Van Jones would ever be happy being Mr. Kardashian. And that's ultimately what you are. When I was working with Jessica Simpson, I remember I sort of knew the moment the marriage was over with Nick Lachey was when Jessica became the star. And they were on red carpets together, and the photographers, they're so rude, but they're sort of like the voice of the people, because it's all free economics. It's like the free market. They were like, Nick, get out the shot, because it was worth more with just a solo shot of Jessica.
Wow.
So can you imagine standing, if we were in a shot together, Cooper, and they said, Robert, get out the shot. Well, I'd say, absolutely right. I'll hold your bag. No, I'd say, you've got that right.
You elbow this bitch in the face.
I was once with Ali Wentworth and George Stephanopoulos, and they wanted Ali, not George.
Really?
Yeah.
She's
Women
prettier.
sell. Men don't sell. If you look at all those magazines you walk past, even the men's magazines, women are on the cover.
That's
you
right.
never see a man on the cover.
Right,
Not
it's a
even
very
Esquire
good
or
point.
GQ. It's all women. And that's why it's felt on a slow news day on the cover of the Post. You'll always see someone in a bikini. It's quite a trick, actually. If you're listening and you're semi-famous, what they do is they go to Miami, they tip off the paps, and they pack 6 bathing costumes and they put them on within 15 minutes. And then they leak a picture a day. So it looks like they've been in the ocean for 7 days. But we get the whole job done in 15 minutes.
I love that.
Bethany's very good at that.
Of course. Yeah. Bethany's dying to get herself in
swimming
page 6.
costumes. She runs behind a beach ball or an umbrella or maybe a skinny girl bottle of margarita and she whips off a costume and puts on another. And then they can release the pictures for 6 days because you think you've caught her in a different look.
Right.
But if you look at the nails or the hair, it's the same. It's the same day.
So has Kim and Van hooked up, do you think?
No, I don't think they have, because if he had sex with Kim Kardashian, he would tell everybody and that would get back to us. So that's how gossip works. We don't really see it. We're not there in the room, but you tell somebody. That's how allegedly Demi Moore found out about Ashton. Ashton cheated with Demi. This is how the story goes. And he brought back a lady to the hotel, and being a gentleman, he decided in the morning to get the young lady a car home. Well, if you had just slept with Ashton Kutcher, you'd get in the car and you'd call everyone in your friends.
Everyone.
Right.
The driver of the car.
Hi, remember me from high school?
Yeah, I just slept with Ashton. So it wasn't the friends. I hear it was the driver. And if you're driving a car, that's one. My best sources are doormen, people in restaurants, and I know every car driver in New York. Because you feel safe in the car, don't you? That's when you gossip. It's like at every award show, not at the moment, but if you're ever at an award show, if you get in the elevator, there's always somebody in the elevator that's not too pretty, but not, sort of blends in. It's probably one of our spies. And the same with the bathrooms. You can't get in a stall at the Golden Globes because every magazine puts a reporter in the stalls and they write stuff down all night. You feel safe. You're in there with your girlfriends. You're chatting away. I know.
It's so funny. I know this is like ancient history, but now that you're talking about that, I realize, I'm basically a nobody. And I was in a bathroom and Marissa Tomei came in crying because the guy she was dating. Yeah, the guy she was dating was having an affair with Annabella Sciorra.
Oh, yeah. And she felt safe in that. The other place.
She felt safe in the bath. She's like, I don't know who this bitch is. She doesn't know who she didn't think, she's like, there's no way she's in radio and knows who I am.
Radio, I've got an antenna in my purse.
Right, exactly.
I go live from the stall. I've been in cars too with celebrities all the time, and they get in the car and they'll say, "Oh, that interview was awful" or something, and I'm like, "The driver, hello."
Right.
And their driver works for the Today Show. Like he works for them. So they're all like, it's a horrible life if you think about it. I like my little piece of the pie. Like I'm famous enough that I can get a free dessert every 6 months, at Scotto's. But, I can't get Hamilton tickets, but I can get a free maybe ice cream on a Friday if it's going to go off. I like that level of fame. Can you imagine being followed around? Oh, I couldn't imagine.
No, I couldn't imagine. Yeah, no. I couldn't imagine having to look my best at all times.
All times.
Yeah, the days that you want to just go out with your hair up and sweatpants and just not even care, and then and that becomes the story.
Yeah, well, that's a good little scoop too. While we're doing all this inside baseball stuff, I hope I'm not giving away too many secrets. But I feel like a magician telling me tricks. Whenever you see a celebrity in full hair and makeup at 6 a.m. in Central Park with their dog, it's staged. If they're picking their nose with a big spot and they're at Starbucks and they've got the hair all messed up, then they got caught.
They got caught.
So it's sort of like you can always tell. I remember those pictures. Remember when Tom Cruise was with Suri when he was still speaking to her?
Yes.
And she was a little baby and he was always in Central Parks and she was in like 5 a.m, 6 a.m. Nobody was around. The sun was coming up. It looked like a movie. It looked like Sex and the City. She was in a ball dress. He was in full hair and makeup and they accidentally got caught.
What a wonderful father I am.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Pass me a puppy.
So has times changed now that people are wearing masks and then you got to realize who it is behind the mask?
The thirsty ones get those masks off quicker than we have to ask. Like, they can, when they want to be spotted. It's amazing. They used to say that about Marilyn Monroe, that she could actually be sort of anonymous and she would actually say to people, "Do you want me to become her?" And they describe it almost like a dimmer switch. And she could turn the switch and become Marilyn. It's wild, isn't it? I was once in Vegas with Barry Manilow and we were walking down the Strip and poor devil, because of his nose, you can't really hide behind that baseball cap. You notice Barry Manilow and the sunglasses, you've still got the nose.
Always Barry Manilow.
He couldn't really turn. But I have seen celebrities. Jessica Simpson I could go to a restaurant with Jessica, pulled her hair back in a ponytail, no makeup on. She's a pretty skinny girl. You're like, oh, she's an LA girl, but you wouldn't notice. Then if she wanted to become Jessica, she'd go to the bathroom. And then she'd come out, she'd put some lipstick on. And it's the way they move. Like she just became this creature like Roger Rabbit. And it's so interesting watching celebrities do it. Not for me, but I get it.
Right. No, it's so true. When I was at Z100 and we were doing Jingle Ball,
Yes.
Jessica Simpson was performing. And it was like before that, we were all, the cast and crew and everyone was like standing around, whatever. And I was standing next to this girl who had her hair in a bandana and she was wearing like a t-shirt and jeans and was carrying like a backpack. And I don't know, I was like, there was a line and I looked at her and I'm like, dude, will this line ever move? She's like, I know, it's just not moving. And like, we were just chatting, like complaining about the world around us. And she walked away. And one of the people that I work with walked over and was like, oh, you're BFF with Jessica Simpson now? Wait, that was Jessica Simpson?
I live in the same neighborhood. I live in Chelsea. And so I often bump into Katie Holmes. And she's another one. She disappears, which is why when these celebrities are like, stop hounding me, stop harassing me. It's not always the truth. Like you can disappear. You never see a paparazzi picture of Jennifer Anderson. Like you can live a private life if you want to. And my experience working with so many of them is that when they wanted to disappear, they could. I'm
glad you brought that up because the main question I had for you, aside from everything else we've talked about so far, I've also lately been obsessed with this whole Travis Barker, Kourtney Kardashian relationship. And here's why. Because don't you remember when Beyonce and Jay-Z were together, they were never seen together when they were dating. They were denying a relationship. They got in separate cars. They left separately. You're like, are they together? Are they not? You had no idea. Or they got married. You're like, are they even really married? You didn't know. Meanwhile, Kourtney and Travis are like, here's my vagina. Watch him, watch him touch it. Like they can't. It's like it's way TMI.
It's too much.
So it makes me think. Like, so is that? Is it a real relationship? Is it what's going on there?
Yeah, it's so interesting. Most of my Kardashian sources are focused on Kim, and so. The fact that Khloe's posting all this, though, makes you suspicious. It's like real life. Sorry, Kourtney. It's like real life, isn't it? If you've got those friends and she's got a new boyfriend and they go for dinner and the first time you meet them, they're kissing and touching, never lasts. I mean, we've all seen it. It's like, honestly, I think of a celebrity like our lives with money. That's the only difference,
right?
And it's high school with a lot of money, and so I'm always suspicious of these really sort of touchy-feely sex, and particularly when they post them themselves, which is how the world has changed so much in the last 10 years of celebrities. They don't need magazines anymore. They've got their own Instagrams and they can tell you what they want you to hear. They don't really need publicists anymore. One of the reasons I stopped being a publicist and went into being a gossip columnist is the world had changed so much. You don't need a publicist to put a statement out now. You can tweet it right yourself. You can, and you don't need to do interviews anymore. You just put something up on Instagram and, it's true. A picture's worth 1,000 words and you don't have annoying people like us three doing a follow-up question. Like you're just talking to yourself. And so I do get the new game of it. It makes it slightly less fun and certainly less fun to be a publicist. And so that's when I moved over into gossip and edit, which is now still where I am, I guess. It's fun.
Anthony?
Got it.
Okay, I feel like I've been hogging this whole conversation. I figured I do that a lot with him because I get excited.
You talk? No.
I'm just
she gossip about our old friend Tyra. What's happening with her?
Oh my God! Oh my girls! Wait, okay. Only because Rob asked. Hang on. Sorry, Anthony. I'm gonna interrupt you again. Tyra's. Let me tell you something. She's the best boss I ever had. I loved working for her. I loved working with her. She was amazing. She did the coolest thing. So she had some scandal and I went on, I don't know, CNN or some show like that. And I defended her and ravenously defended her. Like, cause I know her. I mean, I got to know her really, really well. Like she used to call me back into that little lair that she had back there. Yes. And like, we would gossip and talk and we had a lot in common.
She's a girlfriend. She likes girls too.
Exactly.
Like Tyra's one of those girls that she's got girlfriends.
Exactly. And I remember I guess I can say this now. Rihanna had reached out to her after the whole Chris Brown thing and was like, I need some help. And Tyra said to me, I don't even know her. Why she's reaching out to me? I said, because you're everybody's big sister. You're on TV. You're really relatable. So she thought it was interesting that she reached out and she said, can you help me help Rihanna find a therapist? Wow. So that was like our bonding moment. After that, we were like BFFs. So I defended her on television just because I'm loyal to my friends. She sent me a handwritten note. I saw you. I am so grateful for your friendship and your loyalty. it was the most, I kept it because it's so,
Yeah, absolutely.
I throw
Absolutely.
everything out. I'm not nostalgic at all. That I kept.
No, it's a classy act. She was my first sort of big star. That was the first client I had. There was like a celebrity. She'd been in Sports Illustrated. She was not yet the Tyra Banks. She was in talks about doing her own talk show. I think she'd got top model at the time. And she taught me about kindness too. Tyra Banks is a kind person. And I think with Tyra, it actually comes from a good place. She just wants to be a kind person. And so, and now with Dancing with the Stars, how fabulous she is. She had a book signing in New York, and I hadn't spoken to her in a decade, in 10 years, and she invited me. And she found time to like drag me backstage, and we sat in a little room, which is never as glamorous as it sounds.
Right.
And we sat there and we ordered like Starbucks and we giggled, and it was like, you can pick up with her like an old friend, like someone you know. And so, no, I love to see that Tyra's still doing well. And I love that your connection to her too. It is interesting though, because even stars, they look at celebrities like big sisters, or they buy into their image. And it doesn't surprise me at all that she would reach out to somebody like Tyra and ask for help, even though they don't know each other.
Right. I thought that, think about, you said they're just like us with money. So think about just some random person reaching out to you and being like, hey, my boyfriend publicly beat me. Can you help me? Who are you? I don't even know you.
It sort of gives you a highlight there into how few friends they really have.
Right.
And so like many, many nights when I was with Jessica, I worked for her. I was on the payroll. I wasn't her friend. I was an employee. She paid me a lot of money. And I'd get texts all the time to come to her hotel, or do I want to have dinner? And you'd think that she would have dinner plans from now till forever.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't. She's quite lonely. And so often, many a nights, I found myself being like a chaperone or just being a friend. And so it sort of blurs a lot of boundaries, which does in regular friendships too, because it's not an equal friendship. If you've got a friend that's really rich and powerful and you go to a really expensive dinner, they pay, but then that feels a little weird.
Right.
So it's sort of like a faux friendship, but it was fascinating to be in that world. I miss it sometimes. I miss that whole that whole world. Although I've got to say, since the book was announced, a couple of them, I'm not going to tell you their names, but a couple of them did text me. They did. I know.
I guarantee it was Jessica Simpson, one of them.
So what are you up to? Are you telling my secrets?
Yeah.
One was very happy for me.
Jessica.
And one was, what are you up to, Rob Shooter? I see you. They do see you. They do see it. They also, too, if you go on your Twitter
page. They begrudge you. You know, I hate that shit. It's like, you know what? You're famous. You've done really well. Let Rob Shooter have one fucking book.
1 minute. And wouldn't it be lovely if one of them threw me a party? You'll be there.
It's a 4-word answer. It's one book. Give it to me.
Come on. Throw me a party, Puffy. I'll be up. We can do a white. I'll dress in white. Is that what he likes? Those white parties.
That's right. Everything. That's right.
I'll drink that Ciroc, Puffy.
See,
come on.
There it is. It was Jessica and Puffy. It was those two that got in touch with him.
I didn't say it. I didn't say a word.
Now, I'm really fascinated by this Elon Musk story. He hasn't even been on Saturday Night Live yet. He's getting
and they're already like,
so much crap about it. Now, he could be brilliant, but you guys are just trashing this dude.
So, it's out of nowhere. And I think that's sort of like the genius of this, is that he isn't your usual suspect. He's not a Brad Pitt. He's not an Adam Levine. Like, he's sort of been out of it a little bit. But I mean, he's a fascinating character. If he's funny, this is the hard thing about SNL, though. And I've been at that show with clients. I see how it works. They know within 10 minutes. So they start rehearsals on the Monday, actually the Tuesday. And so they get the long weekends. They work Saturday, so they get Sunday and Monday off. So on Tuesday, they get to 30 Rock and they put out these huge tables in the studio on the floor. And they sit around the tables and they go through skits or potential comedy bits. And the cast members tell me and the writers tell me they know within 5 minutes if they're funny and if they're not. And then they can decide what they're going to do with you. So if you're not very funny, but you're a big star and you're going to get ratings, they sort of like put you in sketches and they sort of work around you.
So,
right. Yeah, so they give you very few lines. They do a lot of taped pieces over the week so they can edit a performance out of you. So we will get the best he can be, because it's not, they don't just turn up on Saturday and put a show on. They've worked all weeks.
Right.
So they know by Wednesday if he's a dud. So if Elon's not very good, he won't be in all the sketches. There'll be a lot of video sketches. And so they'll be edited together. He's wild, though. I was once at a talk show and his mom was there, and his mother roles with security and publicists and managers like you wouldn't believe. So I can imagine what Eli's going to turn up with. And that's another thing they hate. When you turn up as the star with your manager and your agent and your publicist, they're like, oh, that's not good. It's almost like summer camp. And you can't bring your mom and dad. Like you drop them off at the gate, and it's
codependent. Yeah, it's weird. It's not relatable, and especially SNL. I mean, you're coming there to do a job. Who booked him to begin with? Like, why did they think that was a good idea?
I know. Well, I think it's such a legendary show. Like, I'm not that. Well, I'm funny, but I can't dance. But if I was offered Dancing with the Stars, I'd still want to do it. Like, so I think if you're offered that show with his ego. I think, and also they think they're invincible. So I'm sure he thinks he can be taught how to be funny, which to a certain extent they will help him. But I mean, we're going to find out the other thing too, and this is so dumb. A couple of the cast members trashed him.
Right. That's what we were talking.
Really?
We saw that a lot of them were coming forward and saying like, this guy sucks. They were really pissed.
Like, don't do that. A friend of mine was a gossip columnist at MSNBC, and she wrote a bad story, a funny, cheeky story about SNL, and she got in trouble. NBC doesn't mess like that.
Oh.
You're in the institution.
Right.
And if NBC paying your paychecks, they don't mess like that. Have you ever done that? So I have this podcast now at iHeart, and I'm very, very careful about Ryan Seacrest stories. Like,
you have to be.
You have to be.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not stupid. There's no joke. There's no gossip I could give you about Ryan that would be worth my job.
Right.
So tread carefully. So I was so shocked. And if you notice too, it was the newer members of the cast that did it.
Right.
The ones that have been there for 10 years are like, I'm not messing with them. All Michael says is booked is booked.
Now, can the award shows be saved in the future? Or is that part of Americana over?
I think it's over. And I think that the trouble is there's such a difference now between what is popular and what is excellent. And the Oscars, award shows have never been about popularity. If we want to pick the most popular movie, we don't need an award show. We just go to the box office. You can read them every week and just see the numbers. It's so tricky. The Grammys, and I think at the moment we're sort of like in an excellent world where we all want to be in this together. It's almost like anti-intellectualism. I do get it. Sometimes there's years where great movies are also popular, like the year Titanic was up, an amazing movie, technically brilliant and also wildly entertaining. But over the last few years,
with stars that we heard of, with people that were famous. Yeah.
And so over the last couple of years, I think what I would do, if you're listening, is I would cut it down to like an hour show, and I'd just do the 4 big hits, a big opening, a few of the songs, and then I'd give all the technical awards out on PBS.
Yeah.
Something like that. So I'd do all the,
or Facebook.
All the technical stuff. Yeah, Facebook. or did Tina Fey say it could be an email? Like, this whole show could just be an email. But I'll just send you the winners. So I think I'd announce those, and I'd just do like an hour highlight of Best Picture, Best Actress, But you know what, though? 9 million. It's not the 40 million it used to get, but it's still beating Dancing with the Stars and, and America's Got Talent. Like 9 million is a lot of people. The world has changed.
Yeah.
And so they're never going to get 40 millions in the same way. When I look at these new pop stars, they're never going to beat Michael Jackson's records. They're never going to sell 100 million albums because of the world's changed so much. When I look at that gold record right behind your shoulder there, who's going to sell 1 million copies now? No, you can be number one with 20,000.
Right.
Like, that world is gone. So I think it's not fair comparing the award shows to what they were. And if you went to any executive and said, you know what, I can get you 9 million viewers on a Sunday night, they'll say, I'll book that show.
I know, but the problem is they were promising 25 million and they delivered 9. So now Pepsi's going to go to them and say, I want my 11 million back.
But the ad rate on 9 million is still better than on 4 million, which is what they would have been getting with How I Met Your Mother. Like, it's still a massive number. And don't feel bad for them here. If ABC was losing money on this, they would stop. They're not in the charity business. TV is vile. It's the meanest industry I've ever worked on. The minute you don't get ratings, it doesn't matter if you've been on the air for 20 years. There's no loyalty. The second it's over, it's over. So we won't decide this. The people that will decide if award shows are over in the current format are the TV executives, because if they think they can do a rerun of Seinfeld and get more viewers, goodbye Academy Awards.
Right.
They will always exist. 'Cause I think too, don't we love a prize? I think from children at school, we love a first prize. We love a second.
It's true.
So I think there's something in our nature.
No, we love the glamour also. Like that was the thing that was missing too. Like, where's my glamour? Bring my glamour and my humor.
And it was very boring and very slow.
It was very boring, very slow.
Yeah.
Melissa Rivers told me that, Joan used to complain too that the red carpet's ruined now because people don't dress themselves. They have stylists or, Brad Pitt is endorsed by Brioni. I like the days when they went in their own closets and it was awful and it was terrible. I love to see people in their own choices or, I hate decorators. I'm such a nosy person. If I ever come to your apartment and you've got a decorator on board, I want to see the wallpaper you pick. I want to see how bad your taste is.
You can't even paint the door behind you. There's 2 different colors on the door
I'm deciding which one I'm going to have.
You can't figure out which one you want.
I'm a 40-year-old man back in my closet. I'm back in the closet, and I couldn't decide which colour to do my apartment. So I did both little space. Okay. Martha Stewart said to do that. She did say to paint it afterwards.
And now that you're in the closet, who else is in there with you?
I'm all alone now with a couple of Kate Spade shoes. I've got a jacket here. I've got a Brioni tie here. Look at all my clothes on. I know.
Is Ryan Seacrest in there with you?
Don't you dare. My boss. Don't you dare. I need that show. Till that book's a hit. Don't mess with that.
You see Tom Cruise anywhere?
Don't you dare. I've got to get that book. Wait till that book's a hit. Then I'll come back and I'll tell you that then.
Okay. The book is called The 4-Word Answer.
We've got the same publisher. Your publisher's doing it.
Oh,
wow.
Is it still your publisher?
Yes, that's my guy. Mm-hmm.
I know. Anthony was the one. And so I'm working with him. They're very smart. They're too smart for me. I know. Oh, they made me do so much extra work with the edits.
I know. It's a lot of editing.
I said, I'm done. Can't you do the rest?
But they book you everywhere. They're fantastic. I love them.
Good. Oh, I'll be all over.
Are you getting an audiobook?
I can't be bothered to do it. It's such a lot of work.
I'm sorry. You're not going to be able to do it. They have a professional person who reads books for a living. And they will make you audition for your book, and then they'll tell you to go fuck yourself because they've hired somebody who does it professionally.
Is he British at least? No?
Yeah, well, it'll be somebody British if you want that. I mean, we had the woman on the show that read my book.
No.
Yeah.
It's like 100, 200 pages. Your book was a book.
My book was a book.
So how long's the tape? 6 or 7 hours? What? You didn't listen. Have you listened to your tape yet? No, you haven't.
I started listening to it. It's weird It's weird hearing somebody else read your words. It felt very I mean, it felt like somebody seeing you naked. I didn't like it.
I'm going to say that mine is just it's a light suggestion. My actual words. I just say what you want. I said just use it as a template.
Just paraphrase.
Paraphrase whatever you want, sweetie. Just get to the 4 words. That's all I ask. Do the rest yourself.
Exactly.
Anthony, I should hire you. You could do it. 7 hours.
I'll do it. No problem.
For 7 hours.
Send it on over. I'll read it.
Okay.
And I'll be very happy and very animated the whole time.